American soldier rides away.
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. This is a Marines Disquisition, and as you all know, things are happening around the world. This show is brought to you from Wind Talkers Radio Network, and we do have a Wind Talker radio station just outside Killeen, Texas, and we want to welcome all of our listeners as well as former Marines and active duty Marines and military that are wanting to know if I've got the latest on what's going on in Texas, from Sochi, Russia, Kasan, Russia, to the 6 counties of Northern Ireland, to the North Island of Scotland, all the way to Australia, to the 5 counties of Australia, and to the South Island. I want to welcome you all today. This is Guy Fawkes Day there in England. Many of you know what Guy Fawkes is, the standing up for the cruelty of government. And right here in America, we have the cruelty of government. However, on this day, the 5th day of November, in Fort Hood, Texas, just outside of Killeen, Texas, north of Austin, Texas, there are 12 dead, 31 wounded. Why? No one knows. There is a 13th person that is the casualty, and he is one of the shooters. We have 1 shooter dead. 1 shooter has been neutralized. He's being held in captivity at a house where he's holding off the military, and there is a 3rd shooter still on the loose. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you a heads up real fast. This is Fort Hood, Texas. This is the largest Army military base in the world for the United States military. This base is humongous. Men and women that are stationed on this base, all of them, if they live on the base, there is a weapons area in their barracks, and they have guns and ammo in their barracks. This base, and these military people are well trained, well armed. You don't just arbitrarily check your gun and ammo out and go out and shoot somebody. Right at this moment in time, we do not know at this moment in time if it's military personnel or civilians. It is very likely that it's 3 people that are not military personnel, most likely. However, we don't have the full story. I'm going to give you the latest update from our low-power broadcaster in Killeen, Texas, who has just given me the update. 12 men are dead. 3 military men that are wounded or were sent to local hospitals. 3 military men in uniform were medevaced to Dallas. There are 31 injured military personnel, and unknown how many civilians. The base is locked down. The schools in and around Killeen, Texas, and all the schools on the base at Fort Hood are locked down. What you don't understand, ladies and gentlemen, lockdown, that means you might as well be under house arrest. If you're in your barracks, just go over and sit down and watch TV, because you ain't going nowhere. If you work in a mess hall, you might as well just sit down and peel potatoes, because you ain't going nowhere. If you're in a theater, just go get you another box of popcorn, because you ain't going nowhere. If you're in a service station, you might as well just sit there on the curb, because you ain't going nowhere. You move your vehicle, and you're going to be accosted and under arrest and handcuffed and manipulated to the point where you feel like you're the terrorist. So with the low broadcaster is beamed his signal up where he normally runs a 500-watt station. He's running a 1,500-watt station right now at his max to get the word out to the local area with my show. Killeen, Texas is on alert. Fort Hood is on alert. We don't know anything about what's going on there. Ladies and gentlemen, my show today is with Bob Chapman. I've given you the update. You want to know more? Turn on your idiot box. I'm sure that from Washington, D.C. to all points, they're talking about it. But I want you to know that Mr. Bob Chapman is here today with me to talk about the other strange events that are going on around the world. The Goldman Sachs is now foreclosing on people's homes. They've taken on the new role of taking people's homes away from them. And I'm sure Mr. Chapman's got some other intriguing information. He may even have some information about what's going on at Fort Hood. And with that, I want you all to know that Mr. Chapman is with me. We heard him at the beginning of the show, and Mr. Chapman is the founder and editor of The International Forecaster. It is the most plagiarized newsletter in the world. I get phone calls. I got a phone call today from one of his subscribers who happens to live here in Little Rock, Arkansas, a former United States Marine, and he wants to get together on the Marine Corps birthday for lunch. Fantastic. I'm all for it. And that's going to happen next Tuesday. But in the meantime, I want to thank Mr. Chapman for getting the word out there and letting people know that he's there to help them. And welcome to the show, Mr. Chapman. Mr. Chapman. Did I lose Mr. Chapman? I've lost Mr. Chapman. Is he still, he's not there? Mr. Chapman, are you on this line?
I certainly am on the line.
Oh, there he is. Oh, thank you, Larissa. I appreciate it. She had you on there. You got kicked off.
Well, I deliberately get off because I had a pulsating cutout. It just comes, every time you say something, it go bing, 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 on the cutout. Anyway, it's over with. That's fine. I don't have anything further on Fort Hood. I've looked at what's out there. It's sketchy. Nobody knows. We'll wait and see. These guys have done 3 and 4 tours. Some of them, just flip out, and it can't be helped. And it's an occupational hazard.
Well, this is going to change the complexity of military around the United States for sure.
Well, stuff happens, and there's not much you can do about it. People go berserk in the middle of Washington, D.C. and Chicago and so on and so forth. So, a lot of people are under a lot of pressure. And I think, we'll see what happens.
And there's nothing we can do right now. I mean, there's nothing I can do from Little Rock, Arkansas. I gave the report out there, 12 dead, 31 wounded. There's 3 shooters. 1 shooter's dead. 1 shooter is basically neutralized. And then there's a 3rd shooter that's on the loose. I'm not in Killeen, Texas. We'll get the story later on. But my biggest question here is, Mr. Chapman, I did not foresee Goldman Sachs taking on this new role of taking on homes or foreclosing on people's homes themselves and working secretly behind the scenes that are betting on the U.S. housing crash, a more severe crash than we're already in. What kind of input do you have to say about that?
Well, first of all, they were making bond placements called CDOs, which are called collateralized debt obligations, which are bonds that contained mortgages and pieces of mortgages, if you can believe that. They had a AAA rating, and they really were triple B. That's the difference between a 10 and a 3. And, Dylan Ratigan, you should go to the MSNBC. And I just got a piece from Dylan Ratigan, who's an announcer. He used to be with CNBC and quit and went over to MSNBC. And he just reams them. I mean, reams them. You've got to get it on your site so people can see it. I'll have it in my Wednesday issue, probably the first one at the end of the U.S. section where the links start. And the link will be there, and you'll hear what he has to say. But getting back to Goldman, what they did, among others, is put out this poison crap and mislabel it as AAA. And at the same time they were going and selling those bonds, they were shorting them against the market, betting that the value of those would go down because they knew that they committed criminal fraud in issuing them in the first place. Secondly, they own some of those, obviously. They couldn't get rid of them all. And so what's happened is they've decided to clean up their part of what they've got, of the mess that they've got. Now, that mess is those mortgages. Now, my advice to anybody who has a mortgage with anybody, and you're going into foreclosure, you should get an attorney, because there's about 4 court cases, Massachusetts and other places, where federal judges have said, hey, if you can't prove that you own this property because it's stuck in some CDO bond, we can't throw the people out of the house.